Every morning, before the first employees arrived, one young cleaner was already working. With a mop in one hand and a bucket in the other, he quietly cleaned the hallways of one of the biggest companies in Lagos. Most people never looked at him. Some walked past as if he didn't exist. Others spoke to him with harsh voices, believing a cleaner deserved no respect. Even the chairman's daughter acted cold toward him whenever people were watching. But there was one young woman who was different. Her name was Favour. Every morning, she greeted him with a warm smile. She thanked him whenever she cleaned her office. Sometimes she even offered him lunch when she noticed he had nothing to eat. Not because she wanted anything from him, but because her widowed mother had raised her to fear God and to treat every person with kindness, no matter their job or position. What Favour didn't know was that the quiet cleaner pushing the mop wasn't poor at all. He was Michael Emeka, the billionaire owner's only son. He had chosen to work as a cleaner for 1 year to learn humility, understand the people who worked in his father's company, and discover whether anyone could truly love him without knowing who he really was. Only 4 people knew the secret. Everyone else believed he was just another cleaner. Welcome to Chary Story Hub. If you love emotional, inspiring, and life-changing stories like this one, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another powerful story. Your support helps this channel grow and bring more meaningful stories to life. Favour Daniels was born and raised in Lagos, Nigeria. She was only 3 years old when she lost her father after a short illness. Although she was too young to remember much about him, she grew up hearing stories of how loving and hardworking he had been. From that day on, Mrs. Esther Daniels became both mother and father to her. Mrs. Esther worked as a primary school teacher. Her salary was small, but she worked faithfully every day to give her daughter a better future. There were times when money was so little that she skipped meals just to make sure Favour had enough to eat and could stay in school. Yet, she never complained. Instead, she always reminded Favour that God never abandons those who trust him. Every morning before leaving home and every night before going to bed, they prayed together. Mrs. Esther would always say, "Favour, love God with all your heart. Respect everyone, whether they are rich or poor. Never judge anyone by their clothes, job, or appearance. God looks at the heart, and so should you." Those words became the foundation of Favour's life. When she finished secondary school with excellent grades, she gained admission to study business administration at the University of Lagos. Paying the school fees was never easy, but Mrs. Esther trusted God and worked even harder. Sometimes, Favour gave private lessons to younger students during holidays to help reduce her mother's burden. At the university, Favour was known for her humility and honesty. She joined the campus Christian fellowship, avoided bad company, and focused on her studies. She believed success meant pleasing God before pleasing people. During her second year, she became close friends with a cheerful young woman called Precious Emeka. Even though Precious came from a very wealthy family, their friendship was built on trust, kindness, and shared respect. After years of hard work, prayers, and many sacrifices, Favour graduated with a good degree. As she walked across the stage to receive her certificate, she looked into the crowd and saw her mother wiping tears from her eyes. At that moment, both of them knew that every sacrifice had been worth it. University life was not always easy for Favour, but she believed God had a purpose for her. On her first day at the University of Lagos, she felt nervous as she walked around the busy campus. She did not know anyone, but she prayed quietly, asking God to guide her. That same week, she met a cheerful young lady named Precious Emeka. Precious was friendly, confident, and always smiling. The two girls were placed in the same study group, and before long, they became close friends. Favour did not know much about Precious's family because Precious never talked about her wealth. She dressed simply and treated everyone with respect. It was only after some time that Favour discovered she was the only daughter of Chief Emeka, one of the richest businessmen in Lagos. Even after learning the truth, Favour treated Precious the same way she always had. Their friendship was built on honesty, kindness, and trust, not money. The 4 years passed quickly. They studied together, prayed together, encouraged each other during examinations, and celebrated every success. At last, graduation day arrived. Favour proudly received her degree, while Mrs. Esther watched from the crowd with tears of joy. She thanked God for bringing them this far. After graduation, life became harder. Month after month, Favour applied for jobs, but every application ended with disappointment. Some companies never replied, while others said they wanted people with experience. There were days she felt discouraged, but she refused to lose hope. Every morning she prayed, sent out new applications, and trusted God to open the right door. One afternoon, Precious visited her father's office and spoke about her hard-working friend. "Dad, I know someone who deserves a chance. Her name is Favour. She is honest, hardworking, and fears God." Chief Emeka listened carefully. After a moment, he smiled. "Tell her to come for an interview tomorrow," he said. The interview went well. Chief Emeka was impressed by Favour's humility, confidence, and good character. A few days later, she received a call offering her a position as a junior staff member in Emeka Group of Companies. Favour dropped to her knees and thanked God with tears in her eyes. When she shared the good news, Mrs. Esther hugged her tightly and smiled. "My daughter," she said softly, "always remember this. Your character will keep every blessing God gives you." Michael Emeka was 5 years older than his younger sister, Precious. After finishing his first degree in Nigeria, he traveled to the United Kingdom to study for a master's degree in business management. For 2 years, he worked hard, learned from experienced business leaders, and prepared himself for the day he would help lead his father's company. But no matter how much he learned, he remained humble and always put God first. When Michael returned to Lagos after completing his master's degree, his family welcomed him home with great joy. Precious ran to hug her brother, while Dr. Mrs. Ada Emeka thanked God for bringing him home safely. That evening, the whole family sat together for dinner, happy to have everyone under one roof again. After the meal, Chief Emeka looked proudly at his son. "Michael," he said, "you have completed your studies. It is now time for you to begin learning how to lead Emeka Group of Companies. I want you to start preparing to become the next CEO." Michael smiled respectfully, but gently shook his head. "Thank you, Dad," he replied. "But before I become CEO, I want to understand this company from the ground up. I don't want people to respect me only because I am your son. I want to know how every worker is treated and what they go through each day." Chief Emeka looked surprised. "What do you have in mind?" Michael answered calmly. "I want to work as one of the company's cleaners for 1 year. I want to start from the very bottom. I want to learn humility, understand every department, and become a better leader." The room became quiet for a moment. Then Chief Emeka smiled proudly. My son, many people dream of sitting in the CEO's office. You are asking to begin as a cleaner. That tells me your heart is ready to lead. Dr. Mrs. Adayemeka smiled warmly. If you are willing to do this, she said, then I have one more challenge for you. Michael turned to his mother. I also want you to trust God to lead you to the right wife. Let the woman fall in love with your character before she ever knows about your family's wealth. Michael smiled. Okay, Mom, I will do just that. Precious laughed softly. This will not be easy, she said, but don't worry, I will keep your secret. Even my best friend Favour will never know. Chief Emeka became serious. From today, no one in this company must know Michael's true identity. Not the directors, not the managers, not the staff. This secret stays within this family. Early the following Monday, Michael arrived at Emeka Group of Companies before most of the employees. He reported to the Human Resources Office like every new worker. After completing his employment forms, he was introduced to the cleaning supervisor, Mama Ifeoma. She smiled kindly and handed him a neatly folded blue cleaner's uniform with the company logo. Welcome to the team, she said. Go and change. After that, I'll show you your duties. A few minutes later, Michael stood quietly in front of the mirror inside the staff changing room. The expensive suits were gone. He now looked like an ordinary cleaner. He closed his eyes for a moment and whispered, Lord, help me to do this. Teach me humility and make me the leader you want me to become. Then he opened the door, stepped into the hallway, and began his journey as a cleaner. Michael's first day at Emeka Group of Companies began before sunrise. Mama Ifeoma, the cleaning supervisor, showed him around the large office building. She explained his duties and reminded him to keep every office clean before the workers arrived. Michael smiled and thanked her. He walked carefully and quietly, making sure every floor shined and every desk area was neat. As the employees began arriving, many walked past him without even saying good morning. Some acted as if he was invisible. A few dropped paper cups and tissue on the floor, even though a dustbin was only a few steps away. Cleaner, one man shouted, pick that up. Michael simply smiled and cleaned it without complaining. Later that morning, two office ladies laughed as he pushed his cleaning cart down the hallway. I can't imagine doing this kind of job, one of them whispered loudly. The other laughed. Some people are born to clean for others. Michael heard every word, but he remained calm. Just then, Precious walked by. She wanted to smile at her brother, but she remembered her father's warning. To protect the family secret, she frowned instead. Cleaner, she said firmly, pointing toward another hallway. That place hasn't been cleaned properly. Please do your work well. Michael understood she was only acting. He nodded politely. Yes, ma. Not far away, Favour watched everything. She felt sorry for the young cleaner. She remembered her mother's words. Always love people as Christ loved you. As she entered the office, she smiled warmly. Good morning. Michael looked up with surprise. Good morning, ma, he replied. Later that afternoon, Favour walked past him again after he finished cleaning her office. Thank you, she said sincerely. You did a very good job. Michael smiled. Thank you, ma. The next day, it happened again. Favour greeted him with kindness while everyone else ignored him. Day after day, she never failed to smile or thank him whenever he finished cleaning her office. One afternoon during lunch break, Favour noticed Michael sitting alone outside the company building with only a bottle of water. She walked over and opened her lunchbox. I brought too much food today, she said with a gentle smile. Please help me finish it. Michael hesitated. I don't want to bother you. You are not bothering me, Favour replied. We all need someone to care. As they shared the simple meal, Michael quietly thanked God. For the first time since putting on the cleaner's uniform, someone had looked beyond his job and seen the person God created him to be. From that moment, he knew Favour was different. The days slowly turned into weeks, and a quiet friendship began to grow between Favour and Michael. Every morning, Favour greeted him with a warm smile before going to her office. Michael always smiled back. Their conversations were short, but each day they learned a little more about each other. One afternoon during lunch break, Favour found Michael sitting alone outside the company building under a small tree. "May I join you?" she asked. Michael smiled. "I'd like that." As they shared their lunch, Favour noticed a small Bible beside him. "You read your Bible during lunch break too?" she asked. Michael nodded. "It reminds me that God sees us even when people don't." Favour smiled and opened her own Bible. "My mother always tells me that every honest job is important before God." She read softly from Colossians 3:23. "Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord." Michael listened quietly. "Thank you," he said. "Those words mean a lot to me." From that day, they prayed together before returning to work. Favour never asked Michael how much he earned or where he came from. She simply treated him with respect because she believed everyone deserved kindness. One evening after work, Favour and Precious were walking toward the company gate together. Favour smiled. "That new cleaner is such a kind person." Precious looked at her carefully but said nothing. "I don't understand why everyone treats him badly," Favour continued. "He's always polite, he works hard, and I can tell he loves God." Precious forced a small smile. "I guess not everyone sees people the same way." Favour nodded. "My mother always says that our character should never change because of someone's position." That night, after dinner, Precious knocked on Michael's bedroom door. "Come in," Michael said. She sat beside him and smiled. "I think you should know something." Michael looked up. "What is it?" "My friend, Favour." Michael listened quietly. "She talks about you." He looked surprised. "About me?" Precious laughed softly. "Yes, she keeps saying you are hardworking, respectful, and different from what everyone thinks." Michael lowered his head and smiled. "And do you know the best part?" Precious asked. "What?" "She has never once asked whether you are rich or poor." Michael looked out the window for a moment. Then he whispered, "Maybe Mom was right. God really is leading me." The next morning, office gossip began spreading. "There goes the cleaner's girlfriend," one woman laughed. Several workers joined in. Favour heard them clearly. She simply smiled. "There is nothing wrong with treating people the way Jesus taught us." She walked away without looking back. Watching from the hallway, Michael realized he was no longer just thankful for Favour's kindness. He was beginning to fall in love with her. The friendship between Favour and Michael soon became the talk of the office. As more people noticed them speaking during lunch break, some workers became jealous and even crueler toward Michael. One Monday morning, Michael reported to the cleaning store to begin his work. He looked around in surprise. "Mama Ifeoma," he said politely, "I left my cleaning cart and supplied here yesterday, but I can't find them." Mama Ifeoma frowned. "They were here when I locked this room yesterday evening." The two of them searched the cleaning store and the nearby hallway. Another cleaner joined them, but the supplies were nowhere to be found. Almost an hour later, they discovered the cart hidden inside an empty storage room on another floor. Mama Ifeoma shook her head sadly. "Someone did this on purpose," she said. Michael simply smiled. "It's all right, Mama. God sees everything." Without complaining, he picked up his supplies and continued his work. A few days later, another problem came. An employee accidentally knocked over a cup of coffee in the conference room just before an important meeting. Instead of admitting the mistake, the worker quietly walked away. A manager entered the room moments later and immediately saw Michael nearby. "You must have done this," the manager shouted. Michael remained calm. "No, sir. I cleaned this room earlier this morning." "The cleaners always have an excuse," the manager replied angrily. Favour had been arranging some files in the next office. She had seen the whole incident through the open door. She stepped forward politely. "Excuse me, sir," she said. "Michael is telling the truth. I saw one of the staff members spill the coffee. It was not him." The manager looked uncomfortable. After a brief silence, he nodded. "Very well." He walked away without another word. Michael smiled gratefully. "Thank you, Favour." She smiled back. "My mother taught me that staying silent when someone is treated unfairly is the same as supporting the wrong." From the corridor, Precious had watched everything. She smiled quietly. "My friend hasn't changed," she whispered to herself. "She truly lives by God's word." That evening, Precious told her parents what had happened at work. Michael listened quietly before turning to his father. "Dad," he said, "sometimes I feel like ending this secret. It hurts to see how people treat someone they think is unimportant." Chief Emeka looked at his son with wisdom in his eyes. "My son," he said gently, "wait. Truth reveals character." Michael nodded slowly. His father's words stayed in his heart. Every day became more difficult, but every act of kindness from Favour reminded him why he had started this journey. He was no longer just learning about the company, he was learning the true character of the people inside it. As the weeks passed, Michael and Favour's friendship became stronger. They still spent part of their lunch break reading the Bible and praying together. Sometimes they talked about their dreams, their families, and how God had been faithful to them. Yet Michael never told Favour who he really was, and Favour never asked questions about his past. She believed everyone had a story, and people should share it only when they were ready. One evening after work, Michael and Favour were walking toward the company gate together. Precious smiled. "You and our new cleaner have become good friends." Favour smiled back. "Yes, he's kind, humble, and he truly loves God. Those are the things I admire most in a person." Precious looked at her and smiled without saying another word. That night, after dinner, Precious walked into the living room where Michael was sitting and reading a book. She smiled. "Brother, I have news for you." Michael looked up and smiled. "Good news or bad news?" Precious laughed. "Good news. It's about Favour." Michael closed his book and gave him his full attention. "What about her?" Precious smiled. "She was talking about you today." Michael looked surprised. "What did she say?" Precious smiled. "She said you are humble, hardworking, and that your love for God is what she respects the most." Michael lowered his head with a quiet smile. "Thank you, Lord," he whispered in his heart. A few days later, during lunch break, Michael and Favour sat together on a bench outside the office building. Michael took a deep breath. "Favour, there is something I want to tell you." She looked at him with a gentle smile. "I'm listening." Michael spoke slowly. "I have come to care about you very much. I believe I am falling in love with you." Favour was surprised but remained quiet. Michael continued. "But before you answer, you should know the truth. I am only a cleaner. I don't have much money. I may never become successful. I don't know what my future will look like, but just know this. No matter what happens, I will try my best to take care of you and protect you." For a few moments, Favour looked at him without saying a word. Then she smiled warmly. "Michael, my mother taught me that money comes and goes, but good character lasts forever." She looked into his eyes and said, "God provides. I don't love money. I love character. If two people love God and are willing to work hard together, He will make a way for them and bless the works of their hands." Tears almost filled Michael's eyes. "Are you saying you'll give us a chance?" Favour nodded. "Yes, but our relationship must honor God. We will pray together, encourage each other, and trust him to lead us. Michael smiled with joy. I want that too. Not far away, a few employees had seen them talking together. By the next morning, the whole office was filled with gossip. Did you hear? Mrs. Ngozi laughed. Favour is dating the cleaner. Another worker shook her head. She has ruined her future. Many people laughed and mocked her decision, but Favour refused to be ashamed. She believed Michael had a bright future, and she trusted God more than the opinions of people. Little did they know that the man they called just a cleaner was about to be the new CEO of the company. The weeks passed quickly, and soon Emeka Group of Companies was busy preparing for its annual anniversary celebration. Every office was decorated with colorful flowers and banners. Employees wore their best clothes as excitement filled the building. Rumors spread from one department to another. I heard the chairman will introduce the company's next CEO today, one employee whispered. I can't wait to see who he is, another replied. No one imagined that the man they had ignored for months was the person everyone was waiting to meet. That morning, Favour arrived at work earlier than usual. As she walked into the building, she looked around, hoping to see Michael, but he was nowhere to be found. She smiled to herself. Maybe he's busy cleaning another floor, she thought. As the morning went on, she still did not see him. When lunch break came, the bench where they always sat together was empty. A strange feeling filled her heart. She took out her phone and called Michael. The call did not go through. She tried again. His phone was switched off. Now she was truly worried. Just then, Precious walked into the office. Precious, Favour said as she hurried over, I've been calling Michael and I can't reach him. For a brief moment, Precious wanted to tell her the truth, but she remembered the promise she had made to her family. She gently shook her head. I'm sorry, Favour. I haven't seen him either. Favour forced a small smile. I just hope he's all right. So do I, Precious replied, even though she already knew Michael was preparing for the biggest moment of his life. That afternoon, every employee gathered inside the company's beautifully decorated event hall. The room was filled with excitement as everyone waited for Chief Emeka to arrive. Favour looked around again for Michael, but he was nowhere to be found. Mrs. Ngozi noticed her searching and laughed loudly. What happened, Favour? Several people turned to look. Are you looking for your cleaner boyfriend? The room filled with laughter. Another woman shook her head. I told you he would disappear one day. Then a man at the back laughed and said, Your cleaner has run away. More people laughed. Poor Favour, another woman mocked. She chose a cleaner over men with good jobs. Now look what happened. The words hurt, but Favour refused to argue. She quietly bowed her head and whispered, Lord, wherever Michael is, please protect him. And whatever happens today, help me to trust you. At that very moment, the doors of the event hall slowly opened. Outside, the sound of several luxury cars entering the company compound made everyone turn toward the entrance. The laughter suddenly faded. Something extraordinary was about to happen. The grand event hall was filled with excitement as employees waited for the chairman to arrive. The laughter and conversation suddenly stopped when the sound of several luxury cars pulling into the company compound echoed through the building. Everyone turned toward the glass entrance. One by one, black luxury cars came to a stop. Security officers quickly stepped into position. Moments later, Chief Emeka stepped out of the first car dressed in a sharp black suit. Beside him was Dr. Mrs. Ada Emeka, and behind them walked Precious. The employees stood to their feet and clapped. But then, Another car door slowly opened. A tall young man stepped out wearing a perfectly tailored navy blue suit. His polished shoes shone as he walked confidently beside Chief Emeka. Favour's eyes grew wide. Her heart skipped a beat. "Michael," she whispered. The room became completely silent. No one could believe what they were seeing. The same cleaner they had mocked for months was now walking beside the chairman like family. Chief Emeka stepped onto the stage and smiled at everyone. "Thank you all for coming to celebrate another successful year at Emeka Group of Companies." The audience applauded. He continued, "Today is also a very special day for my family because I want to introduce the future leader of this company." He paused for a moment before looking at Michael. Then he smiled proudly. "This is my son, Michael Emeka." For several seconds, no one moved. The room was so quiet that a pin could have fallen to the floor. Mrs. Ngozi covered her mouth in shock. The manager, who wrongly accused Michael, slowly lowered his head. Many employees wished they could disappear. Only Precious smiled, happy that the truth had finally come out. Chief Emeka stepped onto the stage and placed a hand on Michael. "My son has spent the past year working here as one of your cleaners. He did not come to spy on anyone. He came because he wanted to learn humility, understand every worker, and discover the true character of the people who make this company what it is." Michael stepped forward and picked up the microphone. "I learned many valuable lessons," he said calmly. "I saw people who judged others because of their jobs. I also met people who showed kindness without expecting anything from anyone." His eyes searched the crowd until they rested on Favour. A gentle smile filled his face. He walked down from the stage and stopped in front of her. Then, to everyone's surprise, he went down on one knee and brought out a small ring box. "Favour," he said, with tears in his eyes, "you loved me when you believed I had nothing. You respected me when others looked down on me. You saw my heart before you ever knew my name." He opened the ring box. "Will you marry me and continue serving God with me for the rest of our lives?" Tears rolled down Favour's cheeks as the entire hall watched in complete silence. Then she smiled through her tears and answered with one joyful word, "Yes." The room that had once laughed at the poor cleaner now erupted with applause. But this time, the applause was not for wealth. It was for a love built on faith, humility, and character. The months that followed were filled with joy and thanksgiving. Family, friends, church members, and company staff gathered for the beautiful Christian wedding of Michael and Favour. The church was decorated with white flowers, and songs of praise filled the air. As Favour walked down the aisle in her simple but elegant wedding dress, Michael smiled with tears in his eyes. Sitting in the front row, Mrs. Esther Daniels could not hold back her tears. She remembered the many years she had struggled to raise her daughter alone after losing her husband. She remembered the night they prayed together, the sacrifices she made as a primary school teacher, and the days they had almost given up. Now she watched her daughter marry a godly man who truly loved her. "Thank you, Lord," she whispered as tears of joy ran down her face. After the wedding, Michael and Favour began their new life together, putting God at the center of their marriage. They prayed together every morning and sought God's wisdom before making any decision. A few months later, Chief Emeka officially handed over the leadership of Emeka Group of Companies to Michael.
During a special ceremony, he smiled proudly at his son. "You have learnt what no classroom could ever teach you. Today, I gladly hand this company over to you." The employees applauded as Michael accepted the responsibility with humility. His first decision as CEO surprised everyone. He introduced new rules that required every employee, from the directors to the security guards and cleaners, to treat one another with dignity and respect. Every worker attended training on kindness, honesty, teamwork, and Christian values. Slowly, the company changed. People who once ignored cleaners now greeted them with respect. Managers listened to junior staff, and the workplace became like one family. While Michael led the company, Favour followed another dream God had placed in her heart. She started the Esther Hope Foundation, named after her mother. The charity helped widows start small businesses and provided scholarships for hard-working students whose families could not afford school fees. Many lives were changed because one young woman chose kindness over pride. On the first anniversary of Michael becoming CEO, he stood before all the employees and shared the lesson that had changed his life. He smiled and said, "God doesn't look at titles, He looks at the heart." The hall became quiet as everyone remembered the young cleaner they had once ignored. From that day on, no one looked down on another employee because of their job. They had all learnt a lesson they would never forget. Kindness shown to the least among us is never wasted, because God always sees what people overlook.